Well, hello. We've made it to another Friday. Excuse me. Friday, October 10th. Cheers. Well, today's post is mostly positive. Let's start with the news that I just received by going online. I can pull the record because they're right here. So, first news that I get this morning is good, and I'll share that in a second. But the international news that I received this morning is that unfortunately, John Lodge of the Moody Blues has passed away. And this is, I just, I have all of their albums. This one came up, if I'm not mistaken, the fella in Canada sent this to me. I think it's, if I remember correctly, there was some sort of possible flaw with this, but it looks all right to me. Japanese pressing of In Search of the Lost Chord. Moody Blues are very, very important to me, very special. You folks who've been following me for years know the story that I shared is that the album Days of Future Past, I just pulled, and so all those albums didn't come, but this came, got pulled. Moody Blues and then Octave. But literally, the album Days of Future Past saved my life. It literally did. I was extremely suicidal at the time as a teenager. When that came out, 67, 68, real hard time for me as an individual, as a kid. Some of you people can relate. You remember how tough it could be growing up. And that album just brought me hope and peace. And it's one of my favorite albums of all time. Got to see the Moody Blues back in the 70s. In the 70s. So I saw them way back when. Jimmy Spears was the opener. It was a very excellent show. The Moody Blues brought tears to my eyes. The beauty and the sincerity of their performance. And on top of that, Justin Hayward, I was blown away. I don't remember him changing his guitar the entire show and never tuning it. And it stayed in tune. And it was so harmonious that I really noticed it. I was in front row too. I had a front row seat at this show. So I was right up front looking, watching, taking it all in. Fantastic. Rest in peace, John Lodge. 82. 82, bless him. So, as I've shared with you all, I've come to become more familiar with and friendly with my main post mailman. Zerrell Anger is his name, and he's an author. And a while back, he's given me two of his books. But the most recent one was this, which I tried to start reading, A-I-Demic, The Inevitable Apocalypse, about what we're actually dealing with now. It'll be much more, I think, obvious in ways that we won't be happy with in the near future. But the way AI, artificial intelligence, is part of the landscape and not always beneficially. But yesterday, when he delivered the mail, he knocked on the door because he said he had a gift for me. You people are so kind, and your kindness constantly blows me away. Now, this is what's funny though, because I'm I'm straightforward, and I'm not insensitive. I'm just honest. So when he reaches into his bag and I see these T-shirts, he said, "I got a couple T-shirts for you," and I just laughed out loud. I said, "Oh, you must have missed that video where I said I don't need any more T-shirts." But that wasn't a diss. It's like, not to say I won't accept your gift, but it's like, this is kind of funny. We both chuckled about that. He gave me a specially designed A-idemic T-shirt for his, and these are extra larges. So see, I don't, you know, extra large is too large. Large is large. So I accept this gift. He gave me another one. What I'm saying is I accept the gift. It's unlikely I'm going to be wearing this very much. Um, I don't like oversized clothes. I don't. Um, None of this is a diss to the gift. It's me just being honest. Can y'all handle that? Because we're in a world where people are lost in fantasy and being gaslit into psychosis. But the other one is real special because he said this is it's something that he can't sell because of the artwork, but he wanted me to have one. And if this looks familiar, it's because he gave me the artist's name, which I've forgotten already. But this image was used by the Misfits on one of their records. Dan, if you see this, you know, you have the Misfits collection, so you'll know right away which record this was. That this but this is really nice. Now this is another extra large. I'll probably wear both of these at least once. But what a beautiful gift! And once again, what a beautiful thing to be in living in a community where we really are connected. Um, Another quick story. I told you about that big branch that fell down. Well, the neighbor, a few houses down, Brian, who's a musician, actually sax Keith Holland, agreed to remove the branches from Ray's yard for a price, which I said I'd pay for because it fell off my tree. So Brian took care of that yesterday when I got home from practice with Scudder, which was fantastic. Oh, shit. So much to share. But anyway, when I got home from practice yesterday, Brian had taken care of the branches, and I got home from practice just as he was getting back from the dump. So I just took my bass in the house and walked over to his place to pay him for the job. In doing that, his partner, it turns out, is another musician, Norman Love. Do you know the name Preston Love? That's Preston Love's oldest son. Now, Norman is a really good musician, but we float in different circles, and without revealing too much, I had some experiences with Norman that told me to just kind of keep my distance, you know, personal problems on his part. But that was really nice to, and there's a picture of us on my Facebook page today. It was nice to spend a few minutes with Norman and Brian catching up about things. A further testament to my love for my community and everyone in the community. Full disclosure, Norman is an amazing sax player, or he was. He shared a couple of anecdotes about my dad while we were hanging out in the front. But I played with Norman when he was having some psychosis to the point where he was throwing furniture and stuff. And he's approached me since then about wanting to work together, saying that we should work together because we're Higgins in love. And I understand that sentiment, but I choose who I want to work with. And I just decided that's a wild card. You know, he's but he's also not into what I want to do. But anyway, it was great to see him and get the job taken care of. So loaded day today. Actually, I have a very busy day today, and thank you for noticing, Zero. He was saying that to me in the comments on yesterday's video. How as busy as I can be, I always post. Well, I'm a person of routine, and once I like something, I like to keep doing it, and I enjoy making these videos for the most part. Hall of Fame is ceremony is Sunday. As it turns out, Scudder is one of 3 bands that will play for the ceremony. We're the final band, so we're the evening's entertainment. So they do actually expect about 20 minutes out of us, which was different from when I was inducted. It was like wham bam. So we went ahead and put together a 6-song set yesterday. Really went well. I love these guys, and we did talk. We even talked politics. Okay, I told you nobody shushes me, and the only person who really has anything to be embarrassed about is the millionaire Daryl, because Tom came clean to me. Yeah, fucking politics. I don't know. I don't know what happened to this country. Is really what he basically said. We're friends for life. I love Tom, but during rehearsal, on the first break, Daryl pulls out this and gives one to each band member, a single that he had made real quick. 2025 Hall of Fame single, Pitbull and Fuck Yeah, Scudder. There we are. Now, what's funny about this is I took, that's cool. I carry on me copies of some of my single CDs almost all the time in the car or in the guitar case. And so I had some on me. So I gave Daryl some shit. I said, man, thank you, but what is with this cheapness? You're a fucking millionaire. Why are you making stuff so cheap like this? And then what I did was I pulled and I gave each of the band members one of my CDs and a different one for each person. But I pulled this out to show to Daryl. I said, Daryl, why are you doing this with this cheap um, uh, tray? You could afford to do this, and look at how much more impressive this is. Full artwork, gatefold like a mini album, and I was merciless, and we all laughed about it, including Daryl. I said, "Man, come on!" And Jeff, Jeff was funny. Jeff, the leader of the band, said, "Well, that's my manager. You got to talk to my manager about this." I said, "This is cool, but just imagine how much cooler it would have been if you had done this. If you knew about this. Come on, Daryl." These guys are my friends, and Daryl, if you see this, I say I ain't lying. There was an aspect to his demeanor which said more than words, which is like, yeah, I understand your position, Dereck, regarding our political beliefs, and how before I quit the band, we had a long conversation at my house here, me and Daryl was defending Trump and saying, yeah, I'm going to vote for him again. And I just couldn't fucking believe it, And so he let me know in so many words, without words, that he apologizes to me for having made that mistake. He's rich, and yet even as rich as he is, Trump don't give a fuck about him. Trump doesn't give a fuck about me. So once again, Zero Anger, your book. I may try to start reading this again. I do read. I'm just not into fiction like I used to be. T-shirts are awesome, and the guy just comes across as a really decent human being. So I have the gig with Otis 12 tonight at Page Turner's Lounge. It's a poetry reading, poetry open mic. Well, no, it's not a poetry open mic because um, Doug called the guy and got us on the schedule. So I was hoping this would happen. I got the update from the United States Postal Service. The disc is out for um, delivery today. I should be receiving the clock is ticking CDs today. Now, unfortunately, it says due to be delivered by 9 o'clock tonight. And unfortunately, in the past, I've had that actually happen, where my usual postal delivery is anywhere from 11 to 2 to 11 to 3 in the afternoon, and then when I get these sort of things, it'll be something I'm really looking forward to, and sure enough, it will come at the last minute, like 6 o'clock at night or 8 or 9. I hope that's not the case today, because if I get them in time, then I can take some to the gig, to the poetry slam, and have that be the official first time public um, performance, as well as making them available. Very happy about that. So the plan from this point is, if the CDs come early enough today, I'll ask Doug to come here before going to Page Turners to sign some discs, okay? And I have a list of people who have asked to have the discs signed, so we'll sign an amount, and then I can start getting them out in the mail tomorrow. Um, if that doesn't happen today, the signed discs will go out after the first batch, which are unsigned. But I was hoping that I would hear, also thanks to the mailman being a friend, and I explained to him about the discs because being delayed. He explained to me why, because I said, seems to me it might be because the government shut down that mail is affected. He said, no, it's not. And then he explained, because he knows, and it's a shortage. It's a manpower shortage, and he explained specifically where. I said, oh, okay. And that explains why I didn't even get an update until Tuesday. So anyway, that's up for today, and that makes for an exciting day. It was exciting anyway, but I always love receiving a new disc. So, a bittersweet morning. We lose John Lodge of the Moody Blues, one of the first bands that you could call progressive, and just a really beautiful man. I've watched several interviews with him over the years. Rest in peace, John. Speaking of Johns, to continue, October 9th. A lot of us remember that date because it's John Lennon. It was John Lennon's birthday, and talked about that with Jeff Morris of the band Scudder. I've been riding with him to practice because Tom lives in Iowa, and my car is in rough shape. And I was just saying, I would hate for it to break down, on out of town. So he's been coming and picking me up, and we've been riding, and it's been great because we've been able to talk and bond more. I always knew, and I found out even more about the name of the band Scudder. If it's in the book, I haven't read the whole Scudder book, but I finally heard the whole story about the name of the band Scudder, which was surprising. But anyway, while talking to Jeff, John Lennon's birthday came up, and Jeff and I vibe on music. And so we got to talking about the Beatles and the Stones. He was big into both of them, but especially the Stones. Jeff Morris's writing style is really a copy of the Rolling Stones and R&B. But I told him as I got out the truck at home, I said, I'll have to play some Beatles today for John. So I pulled this. Imagine the soundtrack. John Lennon, Imagine. Played all four sides. Parts of John Lennon's solo stuff I don't like. The rock and roll album, don't have it, don't like it. And even in the early days of the band, when they would do Long Tall Sally and shit like that, I thought their versions were shit. I still do. Compared to Little Richard, forget it. But some other songs on here I just love. Imagine, How, in particular the song How. That's a big favorite of mine. Woman, Beautiful Boy, which reminded me of, getting to meet Sean Lennon and give him a copy of my album Flyover. He was real nice to me. So I played this yesterday. Sang along with a lot of it. The Beatles mean a lot to my life. They do. Don't they, Stephanie? Big part of the soundtrack of my childhood. I love the Beatles. I played one more record, or did I play two? The recent bunch of slightly avant-garde music that I bought that's from France brought up this. I've had this for years. Mahogany Brain, another Soufflé Incontenu Futuro reissue with Junk Saucepan When Spoon Trigger. And the reason why I wanted to play this is because I know from listening to it in the past that it was kind of like, But the fact of the matter is that this is really a historical marker. It's like a document. This was recorded in December 1970 at a jam session with these different musicians, artists coming together, and it was like kind of a new thing, back at that time. The hype sticker says here, it shares the same raw aesthetics as the Velvet Underground and offers 12 savage and unhinged songs of distorted guitar with crude lyrics. Well, that's right. The guitar is very crude. And that was the thing about the record that was least enjoyable to me, was how it was obvious. Let's see, what is that? The guitar is very rudimentary. Whoever's playing guitar hasn't been playing long, and he's trying to play blues licks very badly, and so when he's doing that, it's just really irritating. But when he just goes and starts to make sounds with the guitar and rake the strings, then it's like, okay, let go and let something really happen. So this is one where it's like, I won't be listening to this again in a while, if ever again. But am I going to keep it? This absolutely fits into my collection of oddities, music from around the world, historical testaments of the underground, international, which I'm interested in. I'm very much interested in it. As far as I can tell here, that's the only record I played yesterday besides the John Lennon. So, if the discs arrive early today, I'll likely come back on and make a quick post to show them off. It's always exciting. Okay, that's what I have. The other thing to share is that in talking to Jeff of Scudder, well, let me finish that. Yeah. So it turns out that Scudder did not start out as an intentional band, even though Jeff was in bands before that. But he said what happened was that someone or he was having a real big beer party, drinking party, And one thing led to another, and they start jamming and drinking, and Gunsmoke was on TV, I guess. And what the term scudder that Festus would say, scudder is a derogatory name for a hillbilly white person, So it's really the same as nigger, which is I kind of picked up on it naturally by the sound of it when I first heard the name Scudder years ago. Um, and that's part of why they had such a redneck audience, that name. But Jeff said it's an albatross around his neck because everyone was so drunk and just kept saying Scudder, Scudder, and next thing you know, they called the band Scudder. He never liked it. I didn't know that. I'm glad to know that because Scudder's original lineup included Jeff's brother Wayne, and Wayne was and is a very undesirable person, racist and all that stuff. But I could tell even back then that Jeff, even with his blonde hair and his, his he Jeff has a reputation in the past. I'll say anything, especially when he gets drunk. But I knew that Jeff was not prejudiced. There was that typical ignorant level of racism that is all over the Midwest. So I've always been down with Jeff. And these last couple of days of traveling with him to rehearsal and talking and stuff, he's just a really good person. He is. And he lets me know that if only we could clear up the airwaves from all this disinformation and gaslighting, we could move ahead regarding race relations and the social construct, period. So that's what's going on. Okay, family, always thinking about you. I always like to say that because I know my sister Stephanie watches. Cheers, Stephanie. Love you. And whenever I hear the Beatles, I think of my family fondly. Okay, have a good day, and I'm hoping I get the disc early today.